Hello and welcome to Plus TV Africa. I am Felicity Ezewike with the news on the hour. President Muhammadu Buhari has sent a federal government delegation headed by Adamu, Minister of Education, to Bauchi in the aftermath of recent windstorm and fire in the state. Garba Shehu, Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, said this in a press statement released in Abuja on Tuesday afternoon. The delegation, which includes Mustafa Mahaja, the Director General of National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, is to assess the extent of the damage caused by the disaster. Relief materials for the displaced victims have been mobilized by NEMA from its warehouse in Damaturu and Yola and were expected to get to Bauchi before the end of the day. President Buhari had earlier sympathized with victims of the windstorm that destroyed about 1,505 houses, killed 8 persons and injured some 120 others. Also, Azara town was struck with a major fire that destroyed the market. The All Progressive Congress Party, APC, says its governors will hold a meeting Wednesday to produce a unity list of delegates for next week's convention. Our political correspondent, Mary Chinda, who had a telephone interview with the party's National Publicity Secretary, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, updates us.
Ahead of the APC National Convention this Saturday, June 23rd, the party says that its governors will be meeting to come up with a unity list for delegates who will be attending the convention. This is against the backdrop of several parallel conventions witnessed across APC states in the nation. The party's National Publicity Secretary, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, speaks on the River State election, the party's forthcoming convention, and the party's relationship with Imo State Governor Rochas Okorocha.
I don't think, given the nature of River State politics, I don't think it's possible that PDP will win all the elections in River State. But at the same time, I will leave it to the local chapter of the party to challenge it.
Would you say that with all of the parallel congresses that have been held in several states, the APC is adequately ready to hold the national convention?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, the issue of parallel congresses, as you call them, has been put behind us because the appeals committee have submitted their report. The National Working Committee, which is the final arbiter in the circumstance, has made its decision and has ratified the list of delegates that will be participating at the convention. We've set up the convention committee and they are working round the clock to ensure that we'll have a successful and rank-free convention. We are also happy to see that given the principle of zoning that was decided by the National Executive Committee of the party, the APC governors are also meeting, I think, on Wednesday to see if it's possible for them to come up with what we call a unity list.
Meanwhile, a member of the Publicity Subcommittee of the National Convention Committee, Honorable Abike Dabiri Erewa, said screening has been done and 20 positions are going unopposed, while 42 positions will be contested for at the convention. She added that some persons will be disqualified, as persons 40 years and above will naturally be disqualified from contesting for the position of national leader of the party.
2 people have lost their lives, with many others injured after piles of plywood fell off a truck ascending the Ojo-Elegba Bridge in Lagos on Tuesday night. Eyewitnesses at the scene said a car belonging to the Lagos State Teaching Hospital and 3 commercial buses were trapped under the plywood. Officials of the Lagos State Emergency Management Agency and the State Fire Service were reported at the scene, coordinating the rescue operation. One of the officials, who pleaded anonymity, confirmed 2 deaths and said 3 commuters had been rescued in the ongoing operation. The Indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has announced it has commenced the printing of ballot papers for the conduct of a referendum in the southeast, which it plans to hold later this year. A release by the Media and Publicity Secretary of the group, Mr. Ima Powerful, states the date for the exercise is to be announced soon, while calling on people of the area to ignore those equating the call for a referendum as a call for war to hide their betrayal of the people. Powerful said ballot papers being printed will be distributed to all villages in what he termed Biafra land to ensure adults over the age of 18 are able to decide for themselves whether to remain in Nigeria or cede. IPOB assured that efforts will be expended to ensure that this first referendum is as violence-free as others that have been held previously, citing, among others, the one of February 11, 1961, when a referendum was conducted for the people of Southern Cameroon to decide whether to stay in Nigeria or merge with Cameroon. The release further announced that plans were at advanced stages for the first in its three-stage referendum process towards the peaceful, non-violent restoration of the nation of Biafra. Italian ambassador to Nigeria, Stefano Ponticelli, has revealed that about 1,500 Nigerians are currently serving jail terms for different offenses in Italy. Ponticelli made this known in an interactive session with journalists in Abuja. According to him, in Italy, we have about 1,500 Nigerians in jail for various offenses. It is a big number, the envoy said. According to him, Italy plans to send some of the Nigerian prisoners back to Nigeria once they finish their terms because they have not behaved well. He, however, denied reports that Italy sometimes send Nigerian migrants from Italy to Libya. According to him, Nigerians who are in Italy and are behaving well have no problem, and Italy will never send any of them to Libya. Away from that, a magistrate court in Akure on Tuesday ordered the remand of Biodeji in prison after the bail granted him was reversed. Ajayi was arrested in Arigidi, a Coconut West local government area of Ondo State, for killing Abubakar Alidu, a herdsman who allegedly brought his herds to his farm, destroying his crops. The accused was said to have fired a shot that killed the herdsman. Ajayi was arraigned last week on a one-count murder charge and granted bail. However, the bail was reversed as requested by the Ondo State government on the basis of the court acting beyond its jurisdiction. The chief magistrate, Mrs. Victoria Bob Manuel, ruled reversing order, stating that her court did not have the jurisdiction to hear the case. She told the counsel for the accused to seek bail at the higher court. She asked that the accused be remanded in prison and transferred to the hospital to receive medical attention. Still in the news, a plan to permanently solve the recurrent clashes between farmers and herdsmen across Nigeria has been presented in Abuja by the federal government. The presentation made by the technical advisor to the National Economic Council (NEC), Andrew Kwasari, yesterday highlighted a six-point plan tagged the National Livestock Transformation Plan, focusing on conflict resolution, economic investment, humanitarian relief, law and order, information education and strategic communication, the strengthening the development of market-driven ranches for improved livestock production through breed genetic improvement and pasture production in 7 pilot states, rebuilding social capital at the community level to promote mutual trust, confidence building and consolidating the peace process, the strengthening of legal frameworks for improving livestock production, peace and harmony, as well as rebuilding and restructuring of common facilities, worship places, markets, and individual homes that have been destroyed among the highlights. The plan is an offshoot of meetings and recommendations by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development and NEC, headed by the Vice President Yemi Osibanjo, with state governors and some ministers as members in 2017. In attendance at the presentation were several public officials, including the Governor of Benue State and Minister of Agriculture. In 2008 alone, in states like Plateau, Benue, and Kaduna, hundreds of people have been killed in violence involving nomadic herdsmen. The Lagos State government is set to scrap civil service promotion based on career progression and replace it with a performance appraisal system. The state's head of service, Folashade Adesanya, made the disclosure today at a news conference in Alausa, organized to unveil activities marking the Public Service Week for 2019 from June 19 to June 25, with the theme Transforming Governance to Realize the Sustainable Development Goals. She also added that the Civil Service Week will feature free medical screening for ailments like hypertension, prostate cancer, cervical, breast cancers, diabetes, and hepatitis. The state governor, Akinwumi Ambode, is expected to host outstanding public servants to dinner as the climax of the event. The National Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has begun a partnership with a business community in Benin Republic to stamp out the cross-border sale of substandard and falsified products to Nigeria. This was revealed in a statement by Professor Mojishola Adeye, Director General of NAFDAC, at a business forum held in Cotonou. According to her, the business forum became necessary to ensure that drugs, food and cosmetic products billed for export to Nigeria meet required standards, even as the agency's guidelines for registration would be translated into French language in order to promote federal government's ease of doing business with Benin Republic and other Francophone countries. In his response, the head of the Food and Drug Regulatory Body in Benin Republic urged the DG of NAFDAC to set up a system that will enhance trade between Benin Republic and Nigeria. And on the foreign scene, Taliban killed 30 soldiers in a major attack after ceasefire. The Taliban militants have killed 30 security forces in an ambush on 2 checkpoints in the far west province of Badghis in the early hours of Wednesday. The provincial governor has confirmed the attack as information as still skeletal. This is the first major attack since the Eid ceasefire, as the 3-day ceasefire ended on Sunday. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi has called for solidarity with refugees and communities that welcome them. Grandi, in a statement commemorating this year's World Refugee Day, said, "Now more than ever, taking care of refugees must be a global responsibility." According to him, this is necessary because as conflicts emerge, recur and persist or deepen, over 60 million people are uprooted from their homes and displaced around the world. He said it was time for the world to do things differently. Countries and communities need more systematic, long-term support as they take on the job of helping uprooted families. Refugees themselves need to be included in new communities and given the chance to realize their potential. The commissioner said solutions are needed to help refugees return home in time or build new homes, and that the Global Compact on Refugees set to be adopted this year aims to make this happen. World Refugee Day, held every year on June 20th, honors the strength, courage and perseverance of millions of refugees. Starbucks, the world's largest coffee chain, seems unable to handle the pressure from the likes of McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts as ever since the competition ventured into coffee production. The coffee giant has been falling short of its estimated profits in the last 18 months. With Howard Schultz, the co-founder and executive chairman, also stepping down on June 26th, it is more of starting on a new page as the organization is looking to venture into less exploited markets in a bid to diversify, as it believes the existing market is already saturated. In addition to this, the organization is also looking towards cutting administrative expenses. The U.S. withdraws from the Human Rights Council is another story. It says in a dramatic move, it withdrew from the United Nations Human Rights Council. The move was announced yesterday by the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Nikki Haley. In a statement that summarizes the intent for the action, she states that the cause of this development is as reported by Reuters, and I quote, We take this step because our commitment does not allow us to remain a part of a hypocritical and self-serving organization that makes a mockery of human rights. In response to this, while the UN High Commissioner Zaid Raid Al Hussein has declared on his Twitter handle that the move was rather disappointing, if not surprising. Israel has been ecstatic about the decision, as the US, being their ally, is showing support against their alleged chronic biases Israel had suffered over time by the UN Rights Council. And in business, payment system Visa revealed that 5.2 million card transactions were affected earlier in the month as a result of what they describe as a very rare partial failure of a switch in one of Visa data center. This explanation was contained in a letter that was sent by Visa to a British parliamentary committee. According to the letter, a rare disruption prevented many Visa card holders from making payments in Europe. This issue persisted for 10 hours. On this note, Visa has expressed its sincere apologies to all affected persons for the failure and also outlined plans for a compensation scheme. According to Visa Europe chief Charlotte Hogg, 51.2 million cards were issued in UK and elsewhere, but 5.2 million had failed to process correctly. During the 10-hour failure period, 27.6 million transactions were performed, but 2.4 million failed to process properly, which Hogg said affected people in the midst of returning home, socializing and doing end-of-day shopping. She described the process failure of this nature as unacceptable and apologized unreservedly. That takes care of business. Tokumbo is up next with entertainment.
In entertainment, Noble Igwe, who is from Anambra State, is officially a red cap chief from his hometown. He shared this news via his Instagram page, posting a picture of himself and his kinsmen after the conclusion of the traditional rites. According to Noble, he said he is now a titled man and can now wear a red cap in his hometown. He further revealed that he can now do the famous Igwe handshake with his fellow red cap Ugwefi. Noble Igwe, who has asked his fans to address him properly henceforth, is the Ugwefi Noble Igwe Onwa to Umu Omaku. Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman was at the MTV Movie Awards to represent Black Panther, which gained 7 nominations at the award. Chadwick personally won the Best Hero Award and directed his thanks to the fans, who he claims made it a phenomenon. In his speech, he said real-life heroes should be honored. Following this, he called out James Shaw Jr., ushering him to the stage and handed him the Best Hero Award, to the surprise of everyone. James Shaw is the man who tackled and disarmed a gunman at Waffle House in Nashville back in April during a fatal shooting. This was a very commendable gesture, and many thought it restored faith in humanity. Michael Joseph Jackson, singer, dancer, songwriter, and the undeniable king of pop, is walking away to Broadway, even in death. It is now official. A musical will be made on the life of Michael Jackson by Michael Jackson's estate and Columbia. Jackson was a 13-time Grammy winner and an international icon whose album Thriller was the best-selling album of all time. This upcoming story will be written by 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner Lynn Nottage using Jackson's songs. According to Daily Mail, the musical will be directed and choreographed by Tony Award winner Christopher Weldon. This musical is expected to portray the pop stars on stage with their best works. Hopefully, it will be ready for Broadway by 2020, says Daily Mail. Yi crooner Burna Boy has recently signed a deal with the Universal Music Publishing Group. The music company shared the news on Instagram. After all the controversy about Burna Boy, the singer may have finally steered his music ship in the right direction. Burna Boy has joined the league of other signees like Tekno, who signed to Universal Group Africa, and Mr. Easy's licensing deal. However, the terms of the deal haven't been released by the label. And that's it on entertainment. Up next is Udoka with the sports news.
The World Cup has been eventful so far, and the host nation looks set to qualify for the next round of games, and there's a little glimmer of hope for Africa. Welcome to Sports Update on Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko. Russia ended Egypt's dream of having a good outing at the FIFA World Cup 2018 after defeating the Pharaohs by 3-1 in match day 2 of 3 in Group A. And Ahmed Fatih scored an own goal as he diverted Roman Zobnin's shot into his own net. And Denis Cheryshev and, of course, Artem Dzyuba sealed victory for Russia. Mohamed Salah, who had his debut World Cup appearance in the defeat, converted a penalty after he had been fouled in the box. In the opening game, Russia thrashed Saudi Arabia by 5-0 and will qualify, while Egypt will be eliminated if Saudi Arabia fail to beat Uruguay in Rostov-on-Don later today. And the game goes down by 4 p.m. And still talking about African football, Senegal broke the African duck by defeating Poland in a game that had few chances created. And the Teranga Lions got the first goal through an own goal. A shot from Everton's Idrissa Gueye took a huge deflection off Thiago Cionek, and Mbaye Niang got the second goal, while Gregor Krajkowiak headed home a free kick at the far post. Another games today will have Portugal up against Morocco, and that's going to be going down by 1 p.m. And of course, for Ronaldo's team, they will be needing a victory to keep their chances alive of going into the round of 16 after they survived the tough game against Spain that ended in a 3-3 draw, with Ronaldo scoring a hat-trick in that one. In transfer report this morning, Arsenal's midfielder Jack Wilshere put out a post on Instagram confirming his exit from the club, and his future has been in doubt since the arrival of the new Arsenal manager, Unai Emery. And the 26-year-old England international was left out of the Three Lions squad to the World Cup, and he made his Gunners debut in 2008 and has 197 first-team appearances for the club. And Wilshere in 2012 signed a 5.5-year contract, and talks have been going on for a number of months for him to sign a new contract. I also hear that Juve are in the chase to grab Jack Wilshere, and it has been reported that they are willing to make an offer to get Jack Wilshere. Going over to tennis, and the Murray's comeback after almost a year out with a hip injury ended in a narrow defeat by Nick Kyrgios in the Fever 3 Championships at Queens. And the Briton lost 2-6, 7-6, 7-4, 7-5 against the Australian world number 21. And Andy Murray, now ranked 156th in the world, was playing in his first competitive match since losing at Wimbledon last year. And the 31-year-old tested Kyrgios in an encouraging performance, saving 2 match points before losing in 2 hours and 39 minutes on court. And that will be all for Sport Update. I am Udoka Njoko. Back to you, Felicity Ezewike.
And that's it for this hour. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Do join us for more bulletins.